Episode 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi just dropped, so it's time to talk about it. It's actually the best episode of Obi-Wan yet, in my opinion. I think it was a really good episode and much better than last week's, which was very lackluster. This is actually a really good episode. I had very few problems with it. So, with that being said, spoiler warning if you haven't seen it, I'm about to spoil everything in it, so let's get into it. So this episode opens up with like a perfect analogy for this show overall, which is you open up with something really cool and then switch to something that is horrible. So it opens up with a flashback, an Attack of the Clones era flashback of Obi-Wan and Anakin having a spar session, and it's really cool and interesting. And then like 10 seconds later, you cut to Reva! That perfectly represents this show. It's like, oh, here's something cool and interesting that you like. Now here's something that you don't like that we've been shoving down your throat this entire show. Deal with it. It's like, damn, why you guys gotta do me like that? But it was cool seeing that flashback. And I was very happy that it was during the Attack of the Clones era, because that meant there was zero chance of Ahsoka showing up. I was like, hell yeah. Because that was one of my fears from the get-go when the show was announced, and Hayden Christensen was announced to be in it. I was like, oh, if they're getting Hayden Christensen, they're not getting him to just sit in a Vader suit. They got him for Clone Wars flashbacks. And if they're going to do Clone Wars flashbacks, oh no, dear God, Filoni's going to figure out a way to get Ahsoka in there. But thankfully, it's not Revenge of the Sith era. It's not around there, so no Ahsoka. But the flashback's really cool. I like it. One thing is a little off about it is the fact that they put zero effort in making them look younger. Like, it doesn't really take away from the scene that much. The scene, like, the flashback's still great, but it just looks like it's another one of the things with this show where it's like, did just no one care? Did no one, like, no attention to detail? There are little things with the show that add up where it's like, why did no one pay attention to that? And with this, it's like they put the tiniest bit of makeup on them and that was it. Like, I'm not saying they need to do the CGI de-age thing like they've done before. You don't need to necessarily do that. But, like, man, put, like, maybe a little bit more effort into the makeup and, like, the hair to have them look a little younger, but nah, they didn't really do that at all. It's just Disney things, I guess. But yeah, so this the flashback serves as like the B plot. You have an A and B plot in this episode, where the A plot is what's currently going on, to where Obi-Wan has escaped the Inquisitor castle from last episode and is going back to the planet he was at before, because he needs to go back there with the people that saved him. And then he can go from there to wherever he needs to go, return land, Alderaan, all that. But he goes back to that planet, and the Empire knows he's there because of the tracker that Reva set up on him. And so then he's stuck there because the Empire knows he's there, and they've surrounded him. And then the B-plot is the flashback where Obi-Wan and Anakin are having a sparring session, and Anakin's kind of whooping Obi-Wan's ass the whole time, but Obi-Wan's trying to teach him a lesson to basically be aware of his surroundings. Pretty much to be aware of more than just winning. And yeah, it's a nice little flashback. I like it, and we get it. It's cut up into pieces, not just like one flashback and that's it. It's like this one flashback that's cut up into like minute chunks that's sprinkled throughout the episode. And I really like the use of the flashback, and it was cool seeing Ewan and Hayden interact like that again. I really like that. But something that I complained about last episode that I'll complain about again this episode is it doesn't make sense for Vader to not just have straight up killed Reva, because she failed on every single level in episode 4. She had Obi-Wan and Leia, two very important figures to the Empire, in the Inquisitor Palace, and failed and let them both go, and got dozens upon dozens of Imperials killed, also got infrastructure inside the place destroyed that's probably not easy to fix, and it just failed on every single aspect. But her one saving grace was she placed a tracker. Woo, good job. And that saved her from Vader's wrath. What apparently was good enough, which was stupid. And then she gets promoted to Grand Inquisitor in this episode, which at first didn't make sense, but then by the end it kind of does. But at first I was like, that's stupid. She failed on every level, but she gets a promotion. What is this? And Marvel Comics. But anyways, she then gets sent down to the planet to basically prepare for Vader's arrival, to get Obi-Wan and like basically tell Vader like, hey, he's here, we got everything, come get him. So they're all like stuck inside their base, Obi-Wan and these rebels. They're not rebels, but I'm gonna call them rebels to make it simpler for me to refer to them throughout this video, instead of just being like the people that aren't really rebels but are on this planet, the rebels. So they're stuck in there because of the Leia's droid that Reva had modified last episode. She uses that, they remote control that to shut the like the hangar door that would allow them to escape in their ships. So everyone's stuck there. The Empire shows up. Obi-Wan's like, I'm going to slow them down by talking to Reva. He goes and he talks to Reva through a door, through like the blast door that the Empire's having trouble to get through. And it's a good conversation. I like it. Reva reveals that she was that youngling in Order 66 that we shot in the beginning. Shocker, I know. No one ever saw that coming. Yeah. Just, but anyways, she talks about that. She talks about how Anakin tried to kill her and she watched him kill all the younglings and she pretended to be like the corpses and that's how she survived. Which I have no problem with that, except for the fact that Anakin stabbed her through. I think that's really dumb. I have no problem with her surviving Order 66. Great, fine. She should have been, like, shot by a clone or something. Instead of, it shows Anakin stabbing her through in the flashback. It's like, no. That youngling should not survive that. That is stupid. That is so stupid. It should have been, like, a clone shot her in the hip or something and just kept going and was like, oh, yeah, I bet she's dead. And then she just played dead. Fine with that. But Anakin stabbing her himself? No, that's... shouldn't have survived that. But anyways, she talks to Obi-Wan about that, and Obi-Wan realizes that, hey, you're not really here to kill me. You are trying to use me to distract Vader so you can kill Vader. And then he's like, why don't we do it together? And she's like, no, I don't need you. She's like, where were you before during Order 66? Which is a dumb thing to say, but also you can see it from her perspective. She was a child during that, and Obi-Wan was Anakin's master, so he was in some way responsible for him, and Anakin did all this. So I understand her point of view there. It's like, yeah, that makes sense to me for her to think of it like that, for her to be pissed at Obi-Wan, be like, this is your apprentice that killed all my friends. She's like, that was the only family I ever had. Anakin killed all of them. So it makes sense, but also I could not care less because I don't care about Reva. It's like, I wish you had a whole new family that got killed in front of you because I care so little about you. But... they have that talk, and then Reva slices through the blast door, which is funny because the Empire had this like E-web cannon or something, some type of like laser cannon they were shooting at the blast door that they couldn't get through, and then Reva just slices it through with her lightsaber, and it's like, why didn't you do that at the beginning? And it's not like, Phantom Menace Qui-Gon slicing through the blast doors. It's not like that, where it takes like a fat man to do it. No, she just does it like knife through warm butter. But then we get a pretty cool like siege where or attack, I should say, where the stormtroopers attack the area and Obi-Wan takes on a lot of stormtroopers. Looks really cool. My only problem with this section is they should have had more expendable rebels die, because you have a lot of no-name characters that are there and literally one of them dies. A single one. So, in this first initial push, 2 get shot, 1 dies. One dude, like a corner, just gets absolutely murked point blank. Another person gets shot and then is actually fine and dragged off by I think Obi-Wan maybe, or another rebel. And then later a named character dies. But it looks kind of silly because they keep showing all these stormtroopers getting shot and murdered, and it's like, okay, but the stormtroopers aren't taking out any of these no-name rebels. Like, I get it, the stormtroopers have always been goofy idiots. I don't expect them to be super competent or anything, but to sell the gravitas of the situation, have them take out a few more people. It would make the scene that much better and that much heavier. I would have preferred that. But anyways, they go in, they take out the remember the Imperial spy lady from the past few episodes? She dies. I kind of liked her character, but I didn't really feel anything when she died. It was like, okay, she's dead, whatever. Her and the robot died, so it's like, okay, they're dead. She like sacrificed herself with a thermal detonator. But yeah, then they're in another standoff where there's more doors shut and Lord of the Rings. But there are more doors that are shut, and so the Empire is now at a standstill with Obi-Wan again, to where now they're stuck further back. Reva updates Vader on the situation. Vader's like, yeah, Obi-Wan's going to turn himself in. And then Obi-Wan talks to his boys, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to turn myself in. And he's like, Vader knows I'll do whatever I can to protect you. He only wants me. And the rebels are like, nah, he'll stomp us as soon as he gets you two. It doesn't matter. And he's like, no, trust me. So he goes out there. He turns himself over to Reva. They have a good talk again about everything. And he's like, come on, work with me on this. We can get Vader. You just want Vader to die. We can do this. And so then we cut to Vader actually showing up, and she's like, hey, I have Obi-Wan just inside the area. All of us are out here for some reason, but I have like 2 stormtroopers with Obi-Wan in there. So Vader goes in there, Obi-Wan kills the 2 stormtroopers, and then we see that they all go and try to escape, and we get freaking Star Killer mode from Vader, to where the spaceship tries to escape, and Vader's like, nah, and just snatches it out of the air and destroys it. But that was a decoy ship. ship. They have another ship that actually flies off. And their whole plan here between Obi-Wan and Vader was not Obi-Wan Vader, Obi-Wan and Reva, which I like. I like that Obi-Wan like pretty much used Reva for his own means here. Like, it was a very Qui-Gon thing to do. Like, I like seeing Obi-Wan do this, where it's just like, or a New Hope Obi-Wan thing as well. To just use Reva to like for his own means. I like that. But he basically tells Reva, he's like, Vader won't sense it coming, because she asked him, she's like, how will he, what if he knows that you're using me to betray him? Like, what if he senses it coming? He's like, no, he'll be too blinded by me. There's no way he'll know. So after he destroys the ship and then the other ship gets away, Reva tries to stab Vader in the back, which is like 20 seconds too late. He has this whole struggle to take down, well, he doesn't struggle that hard, but it is take a little bit of effort for him to stop the ship from going off and crumpling it. She should have tried to stab him then. What was she doing? That was the time. That's the time to stab Vader in the back, not afterwards. So then we get a whole sequence where Vader just essentially dunks his nuts in her mouth, and it's just embarrassing for Reva, but really cool as a Vader fan, where it just gets absolutely decimated. He does some Matrix stuff. He disarms her. He gives her a lightsaber back. They fight. The coolest move is when he she disarms him, and then he disarms her and takes the other lightsaber back, so he has two, and it is sick. It's really cool. It's really cool. I like this sequence, and I like that she couldn't come close to Vader. I know during this, the showrunners want you to feel for Reva, but during the whole fight, I was feeling for Vader, like, please don't do some stupid crap where she somehow gets a leg up on Vader. Like, I was like, are they going to have her touch one of the switches on his chest or something? Is she going to do something stupid? Please don't. Like, it wasn't I'm worried for Reva. It's I'm worried for the Raiders doing something stupid with Vader. But no, they've kept it consistent with Vader in the Disney canon, where he's just an absolute menace that destroys everything in his path, and Reva is no exception. He stabs her through, but she lives, which is really dumb. And I hate it. I hate that she lives. And we see the actual Grand Inquisitor come back, which was no surprise to me. But I saw a lot of people on the internet when she first stabbed him, like, they're retconning Rebels? What? I'm like, no, they're not going to retcon something Filoni did. They would never retcon something Filoni did in Rebels. No chance they're retconning that. And so then he comes back, and it's like, well, yeah, of course he's come back. I already knew that was going to happen. But I do like Vader also has some cool lines here where he's like, I knew from the start, Padawan. I'm paraphrasing. He says something along those lines. That he was on to Reva from the get-go. He knew she never had anything over him. He knew that she was going to do this. So I really like that, especially because it means that he promoted her to Grand Inquisitor just to mess with her. Like, he didn't promote it because she did anything good. He did it because he knew how everything was going to go, just to mess with Reva and tear her down. I was like, I like that. I like that. But she's like there. She got stabbed through the chest or the abdomen or whatever. And it looks like she's really struggling at first. And then she's just fine. She's just kind of like chilling. She finds, I forgot to mention earlier in the episode, Bail Organa had sent a message to Obi-Wan saying some stuff like, hey, if you don't show up, I haven't heard anything from you. If you don't show up, then I will go to Tatooine to look after the boy, because I know someone needs to overlook Luke. And he drops that, like, hologram message thing, and Reva finds it. And, yeah, because Reva's just still there on the planet. Like, the Empire just left her. Oh, like, Vader stabbed her through the abdomen and then left her. And so she's just chilling. And I hate the fact that she's still alive. It really pisses me off. She should be dead. She's going to come back in the next episode and be a good guy, and it's going to piss me off. I hate that. Vader did this whole big display just to keep her alive. So stupid. I hate that so much. But that being said, I really did like this episode. It was really good. We also got to see Obi-Wan take initiative, and he kind of inspired people and had some hope in this episode. I like that as well. Something I forgot to mention earlier was Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan throughout the first 3 episodes, like last episode not so much, but the first 3 episodes, he was very along for the ride. But episodes 4 and 5, he has taken more initiative himself, and I like seeing that, him being a bit more upfront and in charge. So, yeah, I like this. I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was a really good episode. My favorite of the show, that's for sure. And I hope they nail the finale and it doesn't suck, but we'll see. Anyways, as always, We'll be covering this on my podcast, Nerd Talk, which will be linked in the description down below. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or Amazon Podcast. Me and my brother will be going through this much more in detail than just the 15 minutes I covered here. So if you want to hear that, link in the description below. And I also want to know from you guys down in the comments below what you think of this episode. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later.